Good morning. It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. This is episode 14. Now, if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you guys like what we have to offer here, because every Monday we look at movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. If you're returning with us, thanks for coming back and stopping by. Make sure that everybody has clicked that subscribe button right now. Go ahead and just smash that button. And then if at any point during the show you have a thought or opinion on a topic that we cover, go ahead and sound off in the comments below. And if you enjoy anything in particular, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. Now, this week we got a lot to cover. We did just have our first Facebook live stream, so I hope you guys were able to catch that. That happened earlier this past week. Now, if you missed it, you can always go to the YouTube playlist on this channel, Facebook Live, and you can just watch that on replay. I don't want to waste any more time on this introduction. I want to just get right into the show and get right into the movie news. I'm sure you're just as excited since you're watching, so we aren't going to waste any more time. Let's go cut to that right now, and make sure that you guys stick around to the very end for this week's Certified Rad. All right, here we go. Let's get to the news. In the news, in a recent interview with Screen Rant, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige stated the Hulk will have a 3-story story arc that begins with Thor Ragnarok and concludes in Avengers 4. Link for the article in the show notes below. So I think this is actually a really clever way to give the Hulk audience more Hulk. Because there's been a lot of talk about why don't we have another Hulk standalone film, and with the rights and how everything is kind of set up and everything like that, it's a little difficult to actually make the Hulk movie. Similar to how they made Spider-Man, they had to get certain rights and privileges from Sony. That's what has to happen with the Hulk, but I believe the Hulk is with Universal. So there's a little bit of a back and forth that has to take place, so it's no surprise that they haven't made the Hulk movie yet. But I do like how they're incorporating Hulk into their movies to tell his story as well, kind of like a subplot, similar to Captain America Civil War with the Black Panther, and then kind of like how he's in the movie, but the main story is Tony, Iron Man, and Captain America. So, and then you have like the Black Panther just kind of weaving his way through the whole story, doing his own thing, but it's all connected. I like how that seems to be the route they're going with the Hulk, to tell Hulk movies. So I'm curious when I heard this news to see if they're going to kind of go that route, where we're going to see the Hulk kind of trying to distance himself, if you will, from Bruce Banner. Because what we're hearing about in the Hulk movie is that Hulk actually is a conscious being with thought and everything else, and that's why he's able to talk to Thor in the trailers and like everything else that we've seen so far from Thor Ragnarok. Obviously it hasn't come out yet, so we haven't seen it, but what we've seen in the trailers is telling us that Hulk is a conscious being now. He's not just a rage monster, and he can actually formulate thoughts and sentences and everything else. So it will be interesting to see how that works going forward. So I'm excited about it, because I hope there's going to be this struggle between man and monster that would really give some exciting storytelling if done right. And Marvel has a track record of getting stories right. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited too. Sound off below. Gore Verbinski will be directing the new Gambit movie, and the release date has been set for February 14th, 2019. Details regarding the story and cast have yet to be announced. So if you saw the Facebook live stream from Saturday, we covered this just briefly, but I did want to talk about it again on this show, because after the Facebook live stream ended, which you can actually go back and watch on YouTube, the replay is available. So check that out. It's in the Facebook Live playlist. So I created that one for all the future Facebook Live episodes to be replayed there. So check it out. For this story, I did some research because I was like, well, if they've officially announced that we have a director and Channing Tatum is on board to be Gambit, how far along are we? Did we get the script done? Is there a plot, a synopsis, if you will, on IMDb? Like, what's going on with this film? So I did a little research, and there's nothing for this film. So they have a director, they have a star in Channing Tatum, and there's no synopsis, so I don't even know if the script is done. I haven't seen any updates on that. I haven't seen an update on the budget, because as we discussed on Saturday on the Facebook live stream, it was over $100 million for a movie about a thief, a pickpocket, if you will. and his band of merry men. It's just so weird to think that you would need that much money to do like an Ocean's 11 style X-Men film. Why do we have a release date? I feel like we're just getting this entire project, right, continues to be just like this confusing setup for disappointment. Now, it's great that they have a director and they have a star. There's no supporting cast on IMDb. I haven't seen anything else about like a plot or how well the script is coming along. Now, it's 2017 right now, right? So let's not get too crazy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's 2017 right now. The film doesn't come out for over a year, right? February of 2019. So they have plenty of time to write the story, shoot everything, and then spend the rest of the time in post-production getting all the CGI and everything else together. So we have plenty of time for this film. It's just weird that they keep announcing these little like bits, like one at a time, without just being like, okay, let's just not say anything until we're good to go. Like until we're ready to actually get this thing made, let's just zip it, and then we can stop. Like, here's a little bit, nope, it's changing. Here's a little bit, nope, it's changing. So sound off below if you're excited about the Gambit movie. Also, if Gambit is like your favorite character, because I know a lot of people like him, what's a comic book storyline that you've read that you think we should check out? Sound off below with a comic book that you think we should read that kind of covers the story of Gambit and the character of Gambit, so we can better understand why Fox is so persistent on making this film when it's been just wrought with trouble. Director Ron Howard continues to tease positive news for the Star Wars spin-off film Han Solo via his Twitter account. Recently, Ron posted a photo with the hashtag #TagInBink, signaling two comic book characters are making a big screen debut. So I had to do some research on this one because while I am a Star Wars fan and I'm part of a Star Wars family, right? We are Star Wars. We've already got our tickets for opening night for The Last Jedi. Can't wait. But if you're like me and you aren't familiar with Tag and Bink, you may have been a little bit confused as to why the internet was like, this is going to be fantastic. Let's just cover a little bit of who Tag and Bink are. Tag and Bink are these characters from the comic books of Star Wars that Dark Horse put out a while ago. So before Marvel took over everything and Star Wars and Lucasfilm all kind of got absorbed into the Disney brand and Marvel started making these comic books, they were published by Dark Horse. So these two characters are soldiers who have force sensitive abilities. They're like kind of like they have the potential to have the force, and they somehow haphazardly, according to the internet, have a hand in the events that happen in the trilogies. So I'm not sure how it plays out because I didn't read the comics. So if you read the comics, sound off below as to why we should be excited about Tag and Bink, because I'm not familiar with these characters, but it sounds kind of like a humorous thing that these guys are going to somehow be responsible for something that happens in the trilogies, from what we know with A New Hope, right, going all the way through to Return of the Jedi, or possibly even have the hand in some of the events from the prequels, or maybe what they do is going to lead into something that happens with this new trilogy with Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. We don't know. I do want to go back because I guess there's a collection called Tag and Bink We're Here. So I'm going to take a look for that and see if I can find that pretty inexpensively, right? So use comic book shop, use bookstores, support local people. See if we can find that. But Ron Howard, back to the story. Ron Howard has been doing a phenomenal job with all of the chaos that happened with Lord and Miller leaving right at the very end and Ron Howard being brought in to kind of correct and re-guide the ship of Han Solo to deliver us the Han Solo spinoff film that's actually going to be entertaining and fun. He's been doing a phenomenal job on Twitter, just giving little photos and little fun things here and there to just reinstill the confidence in us as viewers, and fans. So I'm pretty excited about what he's been doing online, and I like the direction he's going with this, because if you take a look right here, you can see it on the screen. It's not going to be full screen, but you can see it. This is him posting on Twitter. This is the photo of him with Tag and Bink. You can see like these guys are part of the Empire. They're the bad guys from what it looks like. So this could be a lot of fun. They could be kind of like the zany comedic relief, if you will, the Abbott and Costello of the Star Wars universe for this one particular film. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Again, if you're familiar with these characters, sound off below in the comments. Conrad Vernon will helm the Addams Family animated movie for MGM. Pamela Petler wrote the screenplay with Matt Lieberman assisting with revisions, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Link for the article in the show notes below. So Conrad Vernon, I'm actually familiar with his films more than I'm familiar with like him and his name, which isn't surprising. Usually we see the people's movies and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, he did all of those movies or she did all of those movies. So this really isn't like a shocker. But he directed films like Shrek 2, Monsters vs. Aliens, Madagascar 3, and Sausage Party. So this guy has got his foot in animation and he knows how to direct animated films. So that's a big plus for us that we can kind of sit back and go, oh, okay, so this guy knows what he's doing when it comes to directing animated films, how to get the best voice talent and how to get the best voice performance out of voice actors or just regular actors that get contracted to do voice work. That happens too. So I'm pretty excited about this news. Not because of who he is, but because it's the Addams Family. I love the Addams Family. I was raised on the Addams Family. I would stay up late watching Nick at Night, and the Addams Family was on Nick at Night when I was a kid. So I grew up loving that. I was very excited when they remade the TV show into movies. And in fact, I own the Addams Family movie, the first one. I think that's a great story. It's kind of cheesy, it's a little campy, but the story really works well. Like all the characters, everything else, it's so over the top and so they just embellish everything so much. It's great. So if you haven't seen the Addams Family movie, the first one, check that out. The second one is okay, but definitely check out the first one. So if you tell me the Addams Family is coming back, I'm excited. You've got my interest that quick. I'm here. Tell me more. Tell me more. We're getting an animated film. I can't wait. And I like the fact that who they brought on to take on this very special franchise is actually familiar with how to direct animation and has done a good job with directing these films. Now, I didn't see Madagascar 3, but Sausage Party was a very inappropriately funny movie. I laughed a long time. And also the Shrek series, Shrek 2, is really good. So I'm familiar with the way he likes to direct these animated films, and I appreciate that. But I'm more excited that we are getting the Addams Family again on the big screen, but this time in animation, because I think you'll be able to get so much more crazy, zany, just over-the-top campy Addams Family in animation that you would never be able to get in live action. And because of that, I cannot wait. So sound off below if you're excited about the Addams Family. Let's move on to the next topic. Honorable mentions this week. Fox released a teaser trailer for their new X-Men spin-off film, New Mutants. Mike Vukadinovich will be rewriting the script for Beetlejuice 2. Disney has dropped the animated film Gigantic from its upcoming film slate. Finn Cole and Travis Fimmel are set to co-star opposite Margot Robbie in the new indie film, Dreamland, directed by Miles Joris Perifit. And the new X-Men film, Dark Phoenix, has officially wrapped principal photography. All right, and that is it for the news this week. If there was anything that popped off in the news that you saw that you were excited about that we didn't cover, as always, sound off in the comments below. And definitely go back and check out the Facebook Live replay on this channel. Again, I created a playlist just for Facebook Live. So going forward, if you click that subscribe button right now, go ahead and smash it. And that way, anytime we update the site with new content for you guys, you won't miss it. Especially because we're going to be doing live streams now as part of this channel going forward. We're shooting for at least once a week to start, and we'll see how it goes and see if we have room to grow there. Definitely smash that subscribe button. And let's go ahead and move on now to the next segment. The trailer paints a picture of tragic loss, of hurt and revenge. We see a bomb explode and people die, but one man's daughter is killed in the blast and he is on a mission for revenge. So, does The Foreigner actually live up to the trailer and the expectations it gave us for a revenge tale, or does this action flick go awry? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. Now, if you watched the trailer, you may have thought the same thing I thought, because on the internet, it seems like a lot of people did, that this film is going to be Jackie Chan's version of Taken. So overall, the movie really wasn't what the trailer presented. The film itself does deal with the revenge tale, with Jackie Chan on a mission to find out who killed his daughter, and he will stop at nothing until he achieves his goal. However, that's only part of the actual film. It's kind of like a layer on top of the movie. The film itself actually deals with the struggle between the English and the Irish with the IRA terrorists. And now that things have kind of calmed down and there's peace, you see how there's like an Irish organized crime families that all meet up and talk about kind of what's going on, and they have their little world that they live in to try and keep the peace to prevent terrorism from spreading again throughout the area. And when the bomb goes off, that's a sign that there's a new, young, angry group of men and women who want to get back and strike fear into the hearts of those people living in the area. So it's a little bit more of kind of the political workings on trying to figure out who's responsible for this blast. Who's this new young group that's coming up and trying to cause chaos and terror? Pierce Brosnan's character is the character that drives that whole plot, and he's primarily the main character in this film. Now, Jackie Chan is credited as the main character, but again, his storyline is very linear. There's not a lot of play. It's just him on a mission, period, and it just runs from beginning to end that story. Whereas Pierce Brosnan's character is more nuanced, because he used to be part of that rebellion. Now he's into politics and he's actually a public servant. So he's having to deal with the organized crime families, the government themselves, the local police, the people who in the area are actually looking at terrorists and terrorist organizations. There's a lot of nuance to his character, which really built out the story and made this much more than just an action revenge flick. So if I had to really give any negative critique or any critique at all, that kind of made my head go meh, it would be that there are certain points in the film where the momentum kind of lessens and drops down amidst all of this tension. And again, it's not just tension because Jackie Chan is on a mission. We see a lot of tension and we experience a lot of tension with Pierce Brosnan's character because, again, it's a political movie. He has to deal with all these different people who are all trying to achieve new rank and new power. Some of them are on his side, some of them he thinks are on his side that end up betraying him that then he has to deal with. Plus, he's got local law enforcement and he's got these government agencies that are all trying to work together to stop the terrorists. It's a very intense film at times, but then there's other times where it's just kind of like, whoop. But overall, I had a really good time in the theater. I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this film because it is so very different from the trailer. You won't see Jackie Chan like this in any other movie so far. He may start making more grittier films like this now that we've seen what he can do. But this is not him from the Rush Hour movies. This is not him from the Karate Kid. Like, this is a brand new, dark, brooding, determined, and gritty Jackie Chan that I've never seen on film before. It really made me look at Jackie Chan and go, wow, he can really pull out the darkness and then become just this terrifying hunter, because he's literally hunting these people down to get information. And then he's hunting these people down that killed his daughter. His performance stands out for me the way Robin Williams' performance stood out in 1 Hour Photo. I saw that film and I was like, I had no idea Robin Williams could go to that level as an actor. And that's how I felt with Jackie Chan in The Foreigner. I didn't know that he could really dig deep into the darkness and pull out that type of performance. Kudos to Jackie Chan on his performance. So The Foreigner is in theaters right now. This film is definitely getting both high fives from this guy because I walked into the theater thinking one thing, I got something different, and when I left the theater, I was like, wow, that was really great, even though it wasn't what I expected. The Foreigner is in theaters right now. I definitely recommend a big screen viewing because it's a great action film, it's a great revenge film, and it's a great kind of political thriller. So there's a lot of things tied into one that will really keep you on the edge of your seat for the most part, and Jackie Chan is going to give you a performance that you have not seen from Jackie Chan. The Foreigner is in theaters now. Check it out at your local movie theater. The Queen of England is nearing the end of her life when a young man presents her with a ceremonial coin and their encounter sparks new life into her. Now this new friendship is unsettling to most of her house staff and her son, who accompany her in her day-to-day travels and routine. So, does Victoria and Abdul actually show us that an unlikely friendship can develop and blossom and turn into something wonderful, or does tradition win the day? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. When I walked into the theater, I had an expectation that this was going to be a dramatic piece that really looks at the life of the Queen and the people that were in her service, as well as her family and Abdul. And surprisingly, what I got was drama, but also lighthearted comedy. The movie, almost at the very beginning, starts off with lighthearted humor that completely caught me off guard and by surprise, and I was very happy that that was the route they went. Because this is the story about a woman at the end of her life, her family, and her servants, and her house staff, and it just really dug into what she dealt with on a regular day-to-day basis, why that life was bringing her down, and it also examines how an unlikely friendship sparked this new life in her that really seemed to carry her through to the end of her days. With the cast, with the talent, they were able to dig into the nuances of the people in the house in the service of the Queen, and it was absolutely refreshing to see this new take on what life in Victorian England would have been like at the service of the Queen. This film explores how people can be exhausting. This film explores how people can be self-serving. This film explores how people can be so pedantic. And finally, this film looks at how judgmental people can be to strangers and customs they aren't familiar with. I was extremely happy with just about everything in this film, from just the little things that every actor brought out of their performance, just these subtle nuances to characters. You could see it in their face, you could see it in shaking hands, you could see the way they would glance back and forth at each other, fix their collars. Everything about it was just such good character acting. I just couldn't get enough. I laughed almost the entire time. The theater I was in, there was maybe 10 or 12 people in it, and most everybody in the theater was laughing along. It was just a very pleasant experience in the movies watching this story unfold. Victoria and Abdul is in theaters right now, and I'm definitely going to recommend you go out and you check this film out on the big screen and support this smaller type of dramatic comedy. This was such a fun film to watch because of how well everything was designed for the period the film takes place in. This is Victorian England, and we get to see the dresses, the suits, the hats, the hairstyles, the facial hairstyles, the way they talk, the subtle jokes, the tongue-in-cheek. It's all there. It's just such a wonderful time in the theaters. When I left the theater, I was pleasantly surprised. So Victoria and Abdul is going to get both high fives from this guy, because I walked into the theater thinking I was getting drama, and I left with a smile. Victoria and Abdul is in theaters now, so check this film out at your local movie theater. Let's go ahead and dive into the weekend box office and take a look at all the movies that y'all were seeing this weekend. Coming in at number 5, we have The Mountain Between Us with $5,650,000. Coming in at number 4, we have It at $6,050,000. Coming in at number 3, we have The Foreigner at $12,840,000. Coming in at number 2, we have Blade Runner 2049 with $15,100,000. Coming in at number 1, Happy Death Day at $26,500,000. Blade Runner 2049 had a huge drop-off. This is not good. I think the biggest problem with this film stems from the runtime. It's almost 3 hours long, and I think that that is a bit off-putting to people who are the occasional moviegoer. Not the frequent moviegoers like you and I, like where we go see, once a week, we'll go to the theaters and check out one of the new films, or twice a week, we'll check out 2 of the new films that dropped that weekend. People who go see maybe 6 movies a year, they hear about this film and they're like, holy cow, I got to go see this. Everyone says it's great. And then they find out it's almost 3 hours long and they're like, I can't spend over 3 hours with previews. I can't spend over 3 hours in a theater. Like I've got things to do. So I think the runtime probably is the biggest setback for this film, if I had to take a guess. Another surprise for me is Happy Death Day making over $26 million. I didn't see this film doing that well, especially taking the number 1 spot. I thought Blade Runner 2049 would cruise top film for 2, maybe 3 weeks, but Happy Death Day coming in and taking number 1 with $26 million, that's That's impressive, because to me, this film just looked like that young adult horror genre, similar like flashback to like the Final Destination films. Like, I guess they did a really great job with their marketing. They got the message out about what the film would be like, and the people in that demographic that like that type of style of horror movie just came out to the theater and supported their film this weekend. So yeah, we can't really hate on it. Congratulations to Happy Death Day for taking the #1 spot. We'll see what happens next week, and we'll see what the drop-off is. You know, we still have The Foreigner, which you just heard my review for. I definitely think you should go check that out. So hopefully that'll stay in the top 5 for another week. And then The Mountain Between Us, I still need to see. If you've seen The Mountain Between Us, go ahead and sound off in the comments below. All right, so let's take a look and see now what is coming out in theaters this weekend. The Snowman, Only the Brave, Geostorm, Tyler Perry's Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. Interestingly, all of these films look good for their own particular reasons. I'm not, as you've heard me say many, many times, I am not a fan of horror movies. I don't do it, but The Snowman doesn't look like a horror movie. It looks like a crime drama meets psychological thriller. You tell me that you've got like a psychological crime thriller thing, that gets me interested. I don't know if it's going to get me interested enough to make it out to the theaters to see it, but it does. The trailers and everything like that have made me go, this could be okay. This doesn't look like it's just a pointless, scary film. This looks like something that might actually make your brain work while you're in the theater to try and solve the puzzle, solve the crime. And then you have the Medea 2, or Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. That looks like it could be funny. The trailers and everything like that make it look like it's going to be just a lighthearted kind of comedic look at Halloween through the eyes of Medea and Tyler Perry. That has me interested as well, surprisingly. So, and then finally we have Only the Brave, which is the fireman story, right? About the guys who want to be like the elite firefighters. And that with Josh Brolin. And that has looked like it's going to be just a really engaging human piece about what is it to be human in the midst of such dangerous adversity, right? If you're staring down a fire that is literally engulfing everything, and you've just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just head in to stop that, to save everybody, that's powerful. People helping people is always powerful. But you staring down a fire and you looking at life going, I got to stop this to save all these people behind me, that's crazy powerful. That movie has me interested. And then Geostorm, when this movie first dropped, I was like, I have no desire to see Geostorm. And then I found out that it's like this weather machine that men are using, or women, we don't know, men or women. Men or women are using to control the weather to cause global acts of weather terrorism. And I was like, okay, that sounds crazy enough that it might actually be just an entertaining popcorn flick where you can sit down, turn your brain off, and just shove popcorn down your gullet as you're just watching this giant computer generated image, this giant CGI fest all over the screen. And it could be fun. If you go in with the right expectation for that film, it could actually be fun. So this weekend is actually looking pretty good for movies as far as what's fresh and what's new and just happening right now. So if you are excited about any of these 4 films that are coming out this weekend, sound off below. Let's take a look at what's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray. On DVD and Blu-ray this week, we have Girls Trip, Batman vs. Two-Face, Landline, Spider-Man Homecoming. This is a great week for movies coming out on DVD and Blu-ray as well. I mean, we've got some interesting and entertaining, potentially entertaining flicks dropping in theaters, and then just a few days before those arrive in theaters, we got these films dropping on DVD and Blu-ray. So as movie lovers, I think we can be excited about this week, right? The Batman vs. Two-Face, which, if you aren't familiar, is animated, but it is the last film that Adam West did before he died. So he did the voice work for Batman in this movie, and then sadly he passed. And now we're going to get this film coming out. So if you were a fan of the 1966 Batman franchise and the animated films that he's done since then, you should maybe be excited or consider being excited about this one, because this is the last piece of work that Adam West gave us as Batman. Spider-Man Homecoming, that looks great. We get to see the special behind the scenes stuff, the director's commentary, just to kind of hear kind of what was going on behind the scenes, what they were going for with the story, which as a movie fan, I'm a big fan of watching films with the director's commentary. If it's something fresh and new that made me go, wow, how did they think of that? I can't wait for these movies to drop on DVD and Blu-ray so I can hear from the directors during their commentary what they were thinking when they created that stuff, and just get inspired myself, for my own different creative endeavors that we do, as artists and everything else. So I'm excited about that. And then Girls Trip, my goodness, this film did gangbusters in the theaters. It dropped and then just made tons of cash. I mean, tons of cash. So I'm sure this film is going to do great on DVD and Blu-ray. I would be very surprised if it doesn't do well, actually, because of how fantastic a job it did in theaters, just bringing people in and then bringing them back and then bringing them back. This movie went wild in the theaters. So I have a feeling it's going to do just as well, if not better, on DVD and Blu-ray. So if you missed it in theaters, you might want to consider checking it out on DVD and Blu-ray, because again, this film did bananas cash in the theaters. Now we're going to move into the last segment of the show, which is Certified Rad. And this week, what we're looking at is we're actually going to take a step back. And, last week we had the tech gear review. So if you haven't seen that and you have any interest in like gadgets and gizmos, you may want to go back and watch that. Before that, we had a couple pieces, a couple weeks worth of people helping people because of everything that was going on in the country. And this week, we're actually going to take a look at, we just had World Mental Health Day, right? So people who are dealing with depression, anxiety, everything else, this life really is hard enough without people out there trying to make it even more difficult for everybody. If you've ever been depressed, if you've ever been anything like that, you need to realize that you're not alone. Depression is very weird. As someone who is dealing with it myself, like, it's not an easy thing. It's difficult to explain. It's not quite quantifiable or tangible sometimes. It's just like you're in this weird fog. I just wanted to kind of throw up a couple books that I've read over the last couple years that have helped me deal with depression. So, and I recommend these books to anybody. You don't have to be depressed to read these books. Like, if you just are into like self-help and just trying to make yourself the best possible version of yourself you can be, then I'd still recommend you check these books out, because I found them to be inspiring and enlightening and very helpful. And as you'll see, comedic as well. So, bettering yourself isn't always taking life so seriously. Sometimes you have to laugh, because laughter will actually help kind of lift the burden, lift the yoke off of your shoulders so that you can just move forward in your day. You don't have to feel like, the world is caving in around you. If you laugh, you make it lighthearted, and things can seem a little better and a little brighter. So here's the list, as you can see on the screen right here, right now. There's a lot of different books. Some books are much thicker than others. But starting from the top, we have Memoirs of a Mangy Lover by Groucho Marx, which is a very humorous look at kind of like his life in Hollywood and everything else. If you like tongue-in-cheek, if you like very sarcastic, well-worded comedic pieces, I definitely recommend you check this book out. It will give you a laugh. And then the next one is Ernest Hemingway, Men Without Women. Now, this may sound a little bit weirder than the book actually is. It's just a collection of short stories that Ernest Hemingway wrote. And it's about what men would do if women weren't around. And it's like bullfighting and boxing and all this crazy stuff, because it's just his opinion that women actually make the world a better place. And they actually kind of help men realize that there's more to life than just going out and doing crazy, weird things that could possibly kill you. And I have to agree with Ernest Hemingway. Women make life better. Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist. Definitely recommend this book. This book was a surprise to me. I walked in, I was looking for one book, couldn't find it at the bookstore, but I saw this and I was like, oh, it was like a anniversary edition. And I was like, I didn't even realize this book had been out that long. So I just picked it up and just read through it. It's a pretty quick read, but it's very powerful. And it's about how people can be on a mission to try and find what they think they need. But what they don't realize is that love has been in front of them the entire time. So it's a great book. It's fiction, but it's still a great book that's going to help you realize that maybe there's someone in your life that is actually going to be something good for you in your life and you for them, but you're so busy focused on something else, you may just walk right past them. So it just kind of helps you get perspective. Next is 2 books by Dr. Leah Buscaglia, and that's Love and Personhood. Now, love is an examination about what it means to actually love. Love yourself, love others. It's not a sexual love, anything like that. It's literal, genuine love. Like when you see someone, you're just like, yeah, you're so excited to see them. You give them a big hug, and you're like, yes, and I can't high fives. That, like, it's a look at what does love mean? How do you give love? How do you receive love? How do you just become a full person? How do you become a full human? And then with personhood, the same thing. Like, it's just a development of you and just experiencing that we're not perfect. We have flaws, you know, and you have to explain that sometimes to people. Look, this is kind of what I'm going through. You know, they may approach you and say, hey, you've been acting weird. And you just have to explain, look, I'm not perfect. This is what I'm going through. I'm trying to deal with this. And then that person can reach out because now they know you need help, and they can be a friend, and they can be like, hey, I see that you're struggling. Let me get you a cup of coffee. Let me go get you some tea. Let me give you a hug. Let's just go hang out and see a movie. Like, they can be there for you, but you have to be able to explain to them kind of what you're going through as an honest human being when they approach you with that concern about how you've been portraying yourself. So these are just both very good books, and anything by Dr. Leo is good. I mean, you can even pull up his YouTube stuff, and his YouTube stuff is very good, and it's very inspiring because he's a very energetic, very charismatic speaker. He's no longer with us, sadly, but you can definitely check out these books and check out his works on YouTube as well when he did his public speaking events. Next up, we have Marcus Aurelius Meditations and Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. Now, these are more philosophy-based books that look at how to center yourself and how to use logic over emotion to overcome problems. So if you've ever looked at a situation and thought, man, I just get so emotional and so worked up about stuff, it would be nice if I could just turn that off and just try and rationalize the problem to figure it out, and then I can move on with my day and focus my emotional energy on something positive. These books might actually help you do that. Obviously, Stoicism is like the removal of emotion. It's just life by logic. And, you know, if you're a Star Trek fan, Spock would be like early Spock, not new Spock, but early Spock would have been considered kind of stoic in his demeanor. This is going to help you realize that there's ways to try and process thought and allow the brain to do the job it's supposed to do. That way your heart can enjoy life in different means and different ways after you've been able to figure out and process kind of the solutions to the questions that you have. Next is a very big book, and that's Essays and Poems by Ralph Waldo Emerson. This book took me a while to read because, yes, it's a very thick book, but the content in the book is so thought-provoking that as you're going through each of these essays and poems, it's really going to give you something to just kind of gnaw on and just mull over in your mind and in your heart as you just kind of read through these different thoughts of his as to what life means and, you know, what it means to be one with people and be in nature and surround yourself with people in this life. And if you want a book that you can kind of read a chapter and then just kind of process it and chill out, I'd recommend this book. If you're the type of person that likes to read a book and then have like a book club setting to where you can talk about what you just read, if you have like a small group, like a little group that you have, like your little tribe, right, where you guys like to read books and share, definitely recommend you guys consider adding this to your monthly reading list, because you can sit down after you read an essay and really just get into what he's talking about. I found it to be a very rewarding experience. Finally, Brené Brown, Rising Strong. Now, this book deals with just finding yourself after, you know, you feel like you've lost the battle for the day, or you know, you're going through something and you feel like, how am I ever going to get out of this? This book really helps you look at yourself and say, look, we're not perfect. We have problems. That's part of being human. And we got to figure out how to make the best of our life after we fail, after we stumble, after we fall. It could be a big thing. It could be a small thing. This book just focuses on you being able to look at your life and go, okay, how am I going to get back into life? How am I going to get back into being the person that I once was? And this is a very rewarding book. She uses very normal, simple, communicative language This isn't like a scholarly read, if you will. It's just, when you read it, it feels like she's talking right to you while you're reading it. And it's a pretty quick read, but if you actually take the time to process what she's saying in the book, I don't think that you're just going to like breeze right through it, because she gives you a lot to think about for your own life. And then she's also going to give you a lot to think about on how others might be trying to reach out to you to help you, but you might be so lost in yourself and your thoughts that it's difficult to see that. All of these books I recommend. I'm going to throw the picture back up there one more time so you can see all of them. And those are the books this week. That is the segment of Certified Rad. Like I said, if World Mental Health Day, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the news. And since it's 24 hours, we're constantly bombarded with negativity. So these books are going to help you. It's going to be a departure from negativity, and it's going to help you focus on you and becoming the best version of you that you can possibly be. Because I believe in helping people, and I think people helping people is a very powerful moment in our lives where we can step back outside of ourselves and go, hey, I see you're someone in need. Let me help you. So if you're presented with an opportunity for any of these books, I recommend checking them out. This is the Certified Rad segment. All right. And that concludes this week's episode. Now, if you liked any portion of this episode, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. Also, be sure to click the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the future episodes or segments that are going to be coming down the pipe on this YouTube channel. Also, in case you didn't know, we just had a Facebook live stream this past week. It was the first one we did, and we're going to be moving forward with a new format for this show. So going forward after this episode, starting next week, it's going to be a brand new format for this show. So get ready for that. So I definitely recommend you follow us on all the social media as seen below, because I try and make each one unique to what we're doing on this show. So what we put on Twitter, you aren't going to see on Facebook. What you see on Facebook, you won't necessarily see on Instagram. And then YouTube, obviously, this is the weekly show. So make sure you're following us on all the social media. That way you can keep up with everything. And we're going to be doing live streams as a regular thing, at least once a week for now. And then we'll see how that goes. And if we need to grow it out, we can grow it out. But at least once a week for now. So make sure you're following us on all the social media so you can stay up to date with that. And I hope you guys just have a great week. I don't know what's going on in everyone's life out there that's watching this, but I hope you have a great week. I hope you're able to surround yourself with friends and family that love you and care about you. And again, check out those books from the Certified Rad segment, because I definitely think they're a worthwhile read. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting and giving me the thumbs up, clicking that subscribe button. We will see you next Monday, as always, for a brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Take care, everybody. See you next week.